What's up, guys?
Hi, guys.
Today, we're overdue for this one. This one I actually heard about a couple weeks ago, but I actually put it on the list and then totally forgot about it until today. So we're watching from the guy who brought you the package glitter bomb video. Do you remember that one? I don't even know if you've seen that one. People steal Amazon packages, and he figured out a way to engineer a glitter bomb. So when they would open it outside the area where it came from, it would like spin and shoot glitter everywhere. It's
That's
hilarious.
pretty cool.
Yeah. But this guy, Mark Rober, in quarantine, decided he wanted to create the perfect Squirrel Proof bird feeder. So these are his chronicles. So I'm excited for this one. So let's see how...
He's an inventor.
Engineer, yeah.
Oh, cool.
All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is a bird feeder, and everything to my left is my attempt at making it squirrel-proof. If they want the bird seed, they will first need to pass through what is basically an 8-part Ninja Warrior obstacle course for squirrels. This course is extremely challenging. It is not for the timid of heart. But out of the gate, I will admit that in hindsight, that I completely underestimated my adversary. Now, if you're wondering why I would go through all this trouble, we need to go back 8 weeks ago when I found myself stuck at home and very bored. So I installed a bird feeder and decided to become a bird watcher. And it was just so lovely. Until they showed up. Now luckily my bird feeder had a wire cage around it, big enough for the birds to slip inside, but small enough to prevent the squirrels from getting the food. And that worked really well until right here. For me, this was like the moment in Jurassic Park when they realized the velociraptors can open door handles. And once the door was open, it was clear this wasn't their first rodeo. They basically cleared this whole tube of birdseed by the end of the day. Mind you, this bird feeder was advertised as being squirrel-proof, so I bought another squirrel-proof bird feeder to replace it. It's got this outer cage suspended by some springs, and so if a bird comes and lands here, it doesn't weigh that much, and it has access to the seeds. However, if a squirrel comes, it'll grab onto this cage, its weight will force the springs down, thereby preventing access to the seeds. I have no idea how the squirrels could possibly outsmart this, but let's see. And this one worked exactly as intended. You can see the birds love it, but when the squirrel comes along, the cage shifts down and now all the seed ports are covered up. Every time they tried, it was the same results. However, the next morning, this guy manages to unclip the springs that hold the cage up. Which means the cage stays in the lowered position where it blocks all the seed openings. Problem with that is now they can get to the lid. But this bird feeder lid doesn't hinge open to get direct access. So he goes with a different tactic. Where he now has access to all the birdseed he wants. And so I decided I would try one more bird feeder design. Okay.
Squirrels are really smart.
It almost feels intentional at this point. This one's supposed to work well because it's got this baffle, which is supposed to keep the squirrels from just coming straight down and getting to the seeds. And more importantly, there's no way for them to rip this off. We'll see. This one debuted to similar results. As he hangs by a few toes, this is when I really started to gain an appreciation for what they were capable of. It definitely seemed like this bird feeder was their favorite. Okay. Yeah, they're flexing on me for sure. And at this point, a plan was forming in my head. But just to be thorough, I moved the post away from the fence, and I can't say I was surprised when they just climbed it. Nor was I surprised to see they could shimmy up and down a small metal pole, or even a large one for that matter. And whether they could climb a certain pole material was a moot point anyways because of this.
They're really impressive.
Look at this! These guys are basically freaking rodent-sized Simone Biles.
What the
heck? And on some level, this is what it felt like when someone stole a package from my porch that didn't belong to them. And I harnessed that indignation, spending a year designing the glitter bomb bait package.
Why would someone just walk up
complete with special fragrances
and feel like it?
If I could design a package to deter thieves, could I design a bird feeder to deter squirrels? And so after a couple weeks of brainstorming, designing, and building with my buddy John, we put it all together in this 20-second build montage.
What the heck?
Here are the basic elements. For starters, here's where I've placed their favorite bird feeder, at the end of the course. And to sweeten the deal, right below that, there's a trap door. And if they step here, it releases a butt ton of walnuts and unfurls some celebratory banners. Why walnuts? I'm glad you asked. I'm using walnuts because over the course of a week, I put out a buffet of 7 different nuts and seeds. And all 4 times I repeated the experiment, walnuts were always the one they ate first. What's great about placing this here is it levels the playing field, as the birds can fly up and get as much food as they want anytime they need it. The squirrels, however, will have to work for it, because the only way to make it to this platform is if they work their way through my 8-part Ninja Warrior obstacle course, which all starts right here. This is the only platform on the course that has a pole that isn't covered in slippery stuff, which means this is where they have to climb up to enter the course. If they try and get up any other way, they can't keep a good grip, and they just slide back down. So the first challenge is the Bridge of Instability. Now this may look easy, but the trick is it attaches at a single point on each end. And from a physics standpoint, that makes it no different than trying to crawl across a tightrope. It's the same deceptive principle with that one carnival game that's so impossible. I broke it down in another video where I used physics to show which carnival games were basically scams and the science on how to beat them. Next up, the Maze of 1,000 Corridors.
He's smart.
This one's a bit more cerebral, but if they make it through that, it will bring them to the pitchfork tumblers, which are inspired by the show Wipeout. But unlike Wipeout, I should point out that all these contraptions are squirrel friendly, and even with a little back force, they will break away and stop spinning. Now, if they can make it past the pitchfork tumblers of treachery, they come to one of my personal favorites, the home wrecker.
That's what the Barbie hair was for.
Oh my gosh.
I put her in to tempt the squirrel to lose focus on the real prize at the end of the course. Because this pad has a pressure sensor underneath it, and it connects to a microcontroller that has a relay that connects to a solenoid that connects to a pneumatic piston that connects back to this platform with the pressure sensor. And so if they stand here for more than 3 seconds, they've got to start the course all over again. Next up is the Slinky Bridge of Deception. I've suspended a juicy walnut right in the middle, but there's no way this bridge will support their weight, so it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. The 6th challenge is called the Tourist Trap. It's actually a bit of a reward for making it this far. If the squirrel sticks their head through this board my wife painted, it's just a photo op they can hang on the wall of their tiny squirrel nest. I'll put a walnut here as an incentive for them not to miss this unique opportunity. The penultimate challenge are the quad steps of great elevation. This is taken straight from Ninja Warrior, and this is super tricky because these pads are all totally smooth and placed at a 45-degree incline. And now for the last challenge. At this point, they are a mere few feet away from their ultimate goal, but if they're not careful, they'll have to deal with the orbital assist platform, aka the final countdown, aka it's not a catapult, it's a squirrelapult. No. Which means they now have to go back and start all the way over from the beginning. Now, if they want to avoid that fate, they just need to stand on this pad for less than 3 seconds. But once again, I've placed a diversion here. This one projects an optical illusion of anything you place in the bottom of this dish. It's actually super trippy and looks even more impressive in real life because the projected image is 3D. They're like $9 on Amazon, and I put a link that explains the juicy physics of how they work in the video description. Now, with regards to squirrel safety, I know I seem to have this reputation of improvised high-speed projectiles, and so this one might worry a few animal lovers out there, including my wife. We have 5 pets and 1 child, and the child was the only one I had a say in. So rest assured, I can adjust the pressure on the piston, and we'll be staying way below any launch force that could hurt any of our adorable backyard contestants. And so finally, after making it through all that, we're back here at the world's most satisfying bird feeder. And as far as I'm concerned, if they make it here, they've earned the right to gorge next to the birds for as long as they want. And so after nearly a month of prep work, the course was officially open for business.
Oh my goodness.
They could smell the walnuts at the final station, and you could see the gears turning because right above that was their favorite bird feeder.
They're just
and so
analyzing.
before long, we had our first contender.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Be careful.
Not bad.
Ooh. They can like go upside down too.
Yeah.
That didn't exactly go as planned, so Rick decides to regroup. Speaking of which,
Rick.
That's Rick. There are a total of 4 competitors that will be attempting the course. First up is Rick, and he weighs 500 grams. I know this because he's actually standing on a custom-made scale. Rick is very clever, as you'll see here in a minute, but he also gets spooked easily. Next up is Marty. He's basically indistinguishable from Rick. Rick and Marty are inseparable and pretty much spend all their time together as a pair. Our third contender is Frank, also coming
like
in around
Rick and
500
Morty.
grams. He's very gutsy. He's also kind of dumb. Finally, we've got my personal favorite, Fat Gus. He's just really charming and will strike a pose if he sees a camera. He also really likes to eat, and he tips the scales at an impressive 800 grams.
Whoa!
Most of the
Wow.
squirrels are kind of particular before making a selection and then gracefully leaping away. Fat Gus just goes for it, hands free. Just makes himself real comfortable. Here he is laying out with a light snack from the bird feeder. I mean, you can't fault the guy for just clearly appreciating a good
He's a
meal.
big
So now that you know
squirrel.
our 4 contenders, let's get back to Rick. So he hops back on, and he's actually doing better than his first attempt. Just barely. This is the best because he's like, okay, I got this. Never mind. Well, maybe I... No, I definitely don't. And this was the exact moment I realized I just might be outmatched here.
Whoa!
Marty was watching Rick, and after a quick dip of his toes in the water, adopts his strategy right out of the gate. Oof, so close. But an excellent recovery. And
Nice.
Fat Gus, perhaps predictably, comes up a little short. Which brings us to
My
the
mom
maze
would
of a
love
thousand
this.
corridors. Which, to be honest, they mastered this one pretty quickly. Here's a solid run from Fat Gus.
Nice.
And now for the pitchfork tumblers of treachery. Marty was like, yeah, that's a hard pass. Fat Gus is just like, abort! Frank is just like, nope. Then he's like, wait a second. Still nope. Then Marty flies in real hot over the top. He did make it through, but that's partial credit as far as I'm concerned. And then here's Fat Gus with my favorite attempt by far. And then Frank shows no fear, which helps him pull off this near fly.
Nice.
And finally, Smart Rick surgically weaves his way through, essentially untouched. And I should mention that
All
the
right.
squirrels were most
I'm gonna pause it there.
I like this
I
video.
know. We're gonna do a part 2.
Oh, because it's
So
too
that
long.
we just don't make it too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So far it's really good though.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see how
This
this
is like
turns
my
out.
favorite video.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
I'm such a dork.
Well, if you guys like the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. If you got any comments, please leave them below. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for part 2.
Thanks, guys.